Hello, Archons. Brobnar89 back with another groundbreaking discovery on Cull the Weak. Dark Tidings. What do you have for me today? Let us see. Clammy Dame Lobo. Clammy Dame Lobo. Okay. I have a couple of Dame decks that I've opened. One of them is one of my favorite adaptive decks from Worlds Collide. So we'll see what Clammy Dame has for me. Logos, Untamed, and Unfathomable. All right, Clammy Dame, what have you got? Let's see what is in here. All right. And, yes, let's get the focus right here as we look at our Binary Moray, which is, of course, the card that lets you archive a card when you reap, and you ready it when you raise the tide, and you exhaust it when your opponent raises the tide. Pretty neat card, lots of archiving potential, lots of ways to move fast here. And, if you have like two on the board, it's almost certainly going to be worth it to archive two cards to use two of them twice. That's four cards you get to archive. That's pretty awesome. Forgive or Forget, of course, a wonderful choice card here. Archive two cards of different types from a discard pile, or purge two cards of each type from a discard pile. This is kind of Logos' answer to Infernus in a way here. Pretty neat card. Think twice, play an action card from a discard pile, then purge it. I really like this card. Lots of versatility there. Armadrone. Okay, a little bit of stealing. A second Armadrone, that 1 power, 3 armor, fight, steal. You don't. It's a little bit disappointing because you don't actually get to use it that much. But, anyways, Seaborg is, of course, 4 power, reap 2 damage to a creature, and then you raise the tide if that creature is destroyed. Edai, love Edai, classic card. Great key cost control in there. Hydrocoagulator, going to go well with that Edai, helping you to add cards to your deck. To your archive, and also goes really well with the Binary Moray because you can just gives you more incentive to raise the tide. A second Hydrocoagulator, very interesting. 2 of them is really neat because then you're archiving 2 cards every single time that you raise the tide. Of course, your opponent also does, so it's a bit of a trade-off. Old Egad, providing those wards when it's destroyed. Real good with the Edai. Keep that Edai nice and safe. Science, giving you an additional amber every time you play an action card. Now, I haven't seen a ton of actions in here. You do, of course, have Think Twice, which lets you play 2 actions because this plays, and then it's play an action card from your discard pile. So that's 2 times there. But all the rest of these are creatures or artifacts so far. So maybe not a huge potential for science to pop off in this deck. Submersive Principle is another action, but not going to go super well with science. It is, of course, that Effervescent Principle, but tide dependent. So that's pretty neat. Okay. Good to see some pretty solid amber control with the key cost control out of Edai, and of course Submersive Principle for those big amber plays. Really happy to see Submersive Principle in here. And 2 Armadrones, which, like I said, they don't fire very often, but having 2 of them increases your chances of getting it to actually work for you. Yeah, interesting little Logos house. Not, there's decent efficiency in here. Forgive or Forget, of course, is really solid. Get those key cards back into your archive so you can use them again. And Edai, just like the potential to make your opponent's keys cost really large amounts. Onto this rare Deep Priestess Glebe. I don't think I've opened one of these before. After you play an Aquan creature, exhaust an enemy creature. That's pretty cool. And this is an Aquan, so you get to exhaust an enemy creature right away when you play it. That's pretty cool. Taniwa is a beast, so not going to trigger the Deep Priestess, but it's 8 power, 2 armor, fight, reap, destroy a friendly creature, and gain 1. This goes nicely with old Egad. You can trigger it and get those wards out. But I don't know. Like gain 1 amber to destroy one of your creatures is hopefully we'll see other creatures that are good to destroy, like maybe a key frog or something. Ooh, the Chosen One. This is really great. It is an Aquan, and it's instead of readying creatures they control during their ready card step, your opponent deals 1 damage to the Chosen One for each exhausted creature they control. That's so good. Really solid turn 1 play. Just shut down your opponent. Make it really hard for them to get anything done. That's some really nice disruption. Brain Drain. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and put it on top of their deck. Slow that opponent down. Very nice. Got an Amber Pip on it too. Can't argue with that. Really fun card. Flamegill Enforcer. A little bit of Amber control. It's really just a 6 power body. That's pretty much all it does. Frigorific Rod. Exhaust a creature or artifact. It is an artifact as well. Nice. Solid. Horrid Cyan. 4 power poison. Portal. Okay, so a little bit of tide control there. If the tide is high, you get to archive it, and otherwise you raise the tide. Pretty neat. Like that card a lot. A second Portal. That is really good to have 2 of them. That means you're at least going to be able to raise the tide and then play 1 and have it in your archive so you can keep cycling it and playing it again and getting that 1 bonus amber on there. Very nice. Rakuzel's Chant is a action. Exhaust a creature. If the tide is high, exhaust each creature instead. Nice amount of disruption in this fish house here. Storm Surge. Your opponent cannot ready their cards during their ready card step of their next turn. Interesting. I wonder how that interacts with the Chosen One, because if they can't ready cards, do they deal damage to the Chosen One? I think not. I think you get the full benefit there, but I'm not sure. Wicolia is a beast. 3 power reap. Keys cost +2 during your opponent's next turn. So not a lot of Aquans in here, so a little sad to have the Deep Priest in here, because I think there's only, 2 Aquans? 3 Aquans, including the Priest. So 1 Chosen One is an Aquan. Flamegill Enforcer is an Aquan. Horrid Cyan is a beast. And Wicolia is a beast. So yeah, there's only 2 other, the total of 3 Aquans in there. But just lots of ways to exhaust and disrupt your opponent. 2 Portals is really great. And yeah, really happy to see the Chosen One in any deck. That's such a good card. So difficult to deal with, especially early on. It is a definite must address for your opponent. Moving on to Untamed, starting off with Ghosttalk, classic card. Love that. Love that inner house play. Do we have any really good reap effects? Binary Moray would be really nice to trigger on an off turn. Seaboard, get that tide raised for you. Taniwa, I guess, get an extra amber if you have something that's worth destroying on your own side. Wicolia, if you need to increase the key cost. So yeah, there's some good choices there. Creed of Nature, destroy Creed of Nature. If you do, choose a creature for the remainder of the turn. That creature gains Skirmish and Assault X. X is its power. Okay, it's an interesting card. It's not super useful, to be honest. If there's a threat you need to take care of, it's fine, but one of the relics here, Primal Relic, put 4 amber on Primal Relic from the common supply. Give 3 creatures a +1 power counter at the start of each player's turn. If they control creatures with power 20 or higher, move each amber from Primal Relic to that player's pool. So we'll have to look and see if we have more power counters in this deck to go with this to make it really worthwhile. We do have the what is it, Taniwa, which is 8 power. We have a couple of pretty big fish in here. The Flamegill Enforcer, the Taniwa, the Deep Priest, and the Chosen One as well. So, you know, that's probably 20 right there. But yeah, we'll hope to see some more options in Untamed here to make that viable. Genetic Drift, well, that'll help. Give a creature a +1 power counter, then give each creature with a +1 power counter another +1 power counter. Also got a amber on it. Chelonia, always good to see Chelonia. It's elusive, and after you play another creature, if the tide is high, you gain an amber. Okay, so a couple of things in here that care about the tide. Flumph, that'll help give some more power counters. Infighting, very nice to see a little bit of board control in here. Keyfrog, yeah, so that goes really well with the Taniwa. You could trigger it on your turn there. Miloby, gonna enrage some enemies. When the tide is high for you, you enrage the enemy that it fights and its neighbors, and it has skirmish as well. Persistence Hunting, choose a house, exhaust each enemy creature of the chosen house. Very nice, more disruption. The Fittest, give each friendly creature a +1 power counter. So that goes really nicely with the what is it called here? The Genetic Drift. These two together are going to just boost up your power tremendously, really. Just huge bursts of power. So makes that Primal Relic like fairly easy to get up to that 20 power or higher there. So that's pretty neat. Okay, interesting. Let's take a look. I feel like this deck is fairly solid. I saw a good bit of amber control. There's not a ton of board control that I see, but you do have a lot of disruption. So like the Milobees and all the stuff, all the exhaustion mechanics out of Unfathomable there. So yeah, lots of ways to mess with your opponent's board without necessarily destroying it. But it'll slow them down enough to really make a big difference. Let's go ahead and start by looking at Amber Control. That seems like a good place to start. Of course, we're not going to see very much in Untamed because that's just how Untamed works in this set. They're not about Amber Control. Oh, this is okay. I wasn't sure. This is a Legacy Ghosttalk. That's pretty cool. Yeah, is not printed in the set, so that's cool to see. What did I say? Amber Control, Wicolia. So there's one. Flamegill Enforcer, you know, it's not great Amber Control. It's Flamegill Enforcer is enraged when your opponent raises the tide, so it's hard to use that action. And even so, like Action Capture 3 is like, okay, great. But we'll count it as 2. Yikes, not a lot in there. Submersive Principle is a big one. Edai, 2 Armor Drones. So that comes up to 6. With the potential to play Submersive Principle multiple times via the Forgive or Forget and Think Twice. So, you know, if you hit it at the right moment, that Submersive Principle could make a big difference for you. Especially together with the Edai, you know, drive up their key costs, stop them from reaping or from forging, make them get up to pretty high numbers, and then you hit them with the Submersive Principle and cut it down. So I guess not as much as I was hoping, but decent Amber Control. Let's take a look at board control. And if we look at, let's look at disruption first, because I think we're going to see a lot more sort of disruption stuff than board control stuff. So these are definite disruption. We'll skip Infighting. We'll skip Creed of Nature. Storm Surge, Disruption, 3, 4, 5, out of Rakuzel's Chant. Frigorific Rod, 6. Brain Drain is Disruption, 7. Chosen One, 8. Deep Priestess, I guess, is 9, although not a lot of Aquans. Yeah, 9 cards that do Disruption, and yeah, really going to mess with your opponent's board, slow them down a lot, make it difficult for them to do what they want to do. Now, if we're looking at board control, we can look at Infighting and Creed of Nature, and I think that's going to be it. That's the only stuff that like removes. Horrid Scion can be pretty useful for board control. Like call that 3, I guess. Yeah, that's going to be it. So, I mean, this does pinging damage. Yeah, so not a ton of board control, but lots of disruption. So that's an interesting approach to controlling the board. And it's also controlling Amber, right? If you're constantly exhausting your opponent's creatures and making really inefficient turns for them, you're making it harder for them to generate Amber. So you have to consider disruption in that way. Let's look at Amber counts. We got 2 pips here. Chelonia is going to help a lot, so we'll count that as 3, 4, 5. Ghosttalk 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So even if we're just looking at the pips, it's like 10. And then we've got those bonus cards like the Chelonia and the Ghosttalk. So I think we have. I mean, it's not a ton of Amber in there, but let's look at the creature count, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. Yeah, so Amber generation may be a little bit difficult. You do have a few tricks in there, like the Chelonia. The 2 portals can continuously generate Amber for you. Forgive or Forget is going to help you out with bringing back key cards for Amber generation. But yeah, Amber generation may be a little bit tough in this deck. You do also have the Primal Relic that I think you could make trigger without too much trouble. But yeah, I think Amber generation may be a bit of a struggle for this deck. So it definitely seems like this deck wants to disrupt the opponent's board, disrupt their game plan, and build up that Amber count. No ways to kill the Key Frog in-house on the same turn, except for, getting really... Well, you've got the Infighting, so that'll do it. And then if you get really fancy with your Ghosttalk and Taniwa combo, you can, play the Ghosttalk and then reap with Taniwa and destroy Key Frog that way. So yeah, you definitely need to disrupt your opponent a lot. Mess with their game plan while you build up your Amber count, and hopefully you have enough disruption going on that you can just do what you need to do and take care of your opponents. Mess with them until you can cut their Amber count in half at the exact right moment with Submersive Principle there. All right, well, this has been another edition of Groundbreaking Discovery with Brobnar89. And I will catch you next time.